When life suddenly feels like it's pushing you to the edge, when nothing seems to make sense, that's often the very moment when something massive is about to break through, and the universe, or God, depending on how you see it, starts leaving little signs scattered in front of you. The tricky part is that most people are too distracted to notice them. They're scrolling on their phones, complaining about what went wrong, or just trying to survive the day-to-day grind. But if you tune in, if you sharpen your awareness even just a little, you'll start catching glimpses of something bigger preparing itself for you, as if destiny were whispering, "Wait, I'm about to hand you something extraordinary." The first sign that often shows up before a breakthrough is chaos. Yes, pure, raw, frustrating chaos. Your plans collapse, the things you thought were secure fall apart, people walk away, opportunities close. And it's not random. Think of it as a demolition before construction. If you want to build a new skyscraper on a piece of land, you first need to clear the old ruins. That's what happens in life. The storm is not a punishment, it's preparation. People often cry out, "Why is this happening to me now, of all times?" The answer is simple. Because if those walls didn't come down, you would never have the space for the new structure God is about to raise in your life. The second sign is isolation. Suddenly, you find yourself alone. Friends who used to check in daily vanish. The social circles where you felt comfortable don't feel the same anymore. Even family members might distance themselves. At first, it feels painful, almost like abandonment. But if you look deeper, that isolation is designed to push you into introspection, to force you to grow without leaning on everyone else. Some of the most powerful figures in history went through long seasons of solitude before stepping into their purpose. Moses had his desert, Jesus had his 40 days, even modern leaders talk about phases where they had to walk alone. So if you're feeling cut off, it's not rejection, it's redirection. Another fascinating sign is the appearance of unusual opportunities. They might seem small at first, a conversation with a stranger that shifts your perspective, a random email that sparks an idea, a job offer that doesn't even make sense compared to your current situation. But these little coincidences start stacking up, and when you zoom out, they form a trail. God rarely drops the finished gift right on your lap. Instead, He sends breadcrumbs, guiding you step by step until you suddenly realize you're standing in front of a door you never imagined possible. And here's the kicker. Those breadcrumbs usually show up right when you feel least prepared. That's not an accident, it's divine timing. Now, let's talk about discomfort. Oh yes, that restless feeling that keeps you awake at night. You can't explain it to anyone because, on paper, everything might look fine. But inside, something gnaws at you. It's like your soul is telling you, you're meant for more. That discomfort is not a sign of failure. It's the exact opposite. It's your inner system recalibrating for the next level. Think of it like a snake shedding its skin. It's uncomfortable, itchy, vulnerable, but it's necessary for growth. So if you feel unsettled, don't drown it out with distractions. Lean into it. That's God's way of making sure you don't get too comfortable in a place you've already outgrown. Dreams and visions are another powerful sign. I don't mean just the random mess your brain cooks up after watching Netflix too late at night. I mean those recurring dreams that stick with you. The ones that feel so vivid you wake up with your heart racing, or those flashes of inspiration during the day that come out of nowhere. In many spiritual traditions, dreams are considered messages, codes from the divine realm. And whether you interpret them literally or metaphorically, the fact that they repeat means you're being nudged. Pay attention. Write them down. Often, the breakthrough is announced in whispers before it shows up in reality. And here's one that will sound almost counterintuitive: resistance. When you start pushing toward something new, everything seems to push back. Obstacles multiply, delays stretch longer, critics get louder. You might think, maybe this is a sign I'm not supposed to continue. But in reality, it's often proof you're on the right path. Resistance is like a spiritual stress test. It asks you, how badly do you want this? Diamonds are not formed under comfort, they're formed under pressure. If you quit at the first sign of resistance, you miss out on the treasure waiting on the other side. So next time the road gets tougher, smile to yourself. It's probably because the finish line is closer than you think. Let's not forget the inner peace that comes right in the middle of madness. This one is subtle but profound. Imagine everything around you is falling apart. Finances shaky, relationships in turmoil, uncertainty everywhere. And yet, deep inside, you feel strangely calm. That's not denial, that's alignment. It means your spirit already knows something your mind hasn't caught up with yet. A bigger plan is unfolding, and you're safe within it. That peace is not human, it's divine, and it often shows up just before a major blessing. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, this sounds amazing, but how do I know if these signs are real or if I'm just imagining them? Fair question. The truth is, discernment comes with practice. The more you stay aware, the more you'll learn to distinguish between random noise and meaningful signals. And here's a tip. When in doubt, watch for patterns. One sign might be coincidence, two could be chance, but three or more pointing in the same direction. That's confirmation. And if you're already feeling goosebumps while hearing this, let me tell you straight, that's not random either. That's resonance. Something in you recognizes these truths because you're living them right now, or you're about to. And trust me, the people who pay attention to these signals are the ones who catch the wave instead of getting crushed by it. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to share next is not something you'll catch in any newsfeed. It's insight that can change the way you see your own journey. Here's another overlooked sign. Sudden clarity. You might have spent years confused, stuck, second-guessing every move, and then, almost overnight, it clicks. The fog lifts, and you just know what to do. It might not even make logical sense, but it feels right down to your bones. That clarity is not random. It's divine timing syncing with your readiness. Sometimes God withholds the full picture until you've been prepared by trials, by loss, by patience. And when you've finally matured enough, He flips the light switch. Suddenly, the path ahead seems obvious. Also, pay attention to the people who enter your life during these seasons. Not everyone is permanent, but some show up exactly when you need them. It could be a mentor, a friend, or even a stranger who says one sentence that shifts your entire perspective. These people are like carriers of the message, instruments used to guide you. Don't underestimate them. Sometimes the answer to your prayer walks into the room wearing ordinary clothes, speaking in a casual tone. The divine doesn't always look dramatic. It often hides in simplicity. And yes, let's talk about pruning. This one hurts, but it's necessary. Imagine a gardener cutting off branches, not because he hates the tree, but because he wants it to bear more fruit. In life, pruning shows up as losses. Friendships end, doors close, certain habits get stripped away. It stings, it feels unfair, but if you endure it, you'll realize later that those cuts were the very reason you could flourish. God doesn't remove without replacing, and what He replaces always aligns with growth. By now you're probably connecting dots in your own story. Maybe you're realizing that the chaos you're living is not random, that the loneliness you're feeling is not punishment, that the dreams haunting you are not mere accidents. If that's you, then you're already standing on the threshold of something bigger than yourself. And if you want to keep unlocking these layers, make sure you stay connected here, because the signs you're seeing now are only the beginning of a much larger revelation. Before I wrap this up, let me leave you with this powerful thought. Every great blessing comes with a test. Every gift requires preparation. And every breakthrough demands endurance. So when you spot these signs, chaos, isolation, discomfort, dreams, resistance, peace, clarity, don't shrink back. Lean forward. Recognize that you're being positioned for something you might not even believe you're ready for. But the truth is, if God is sending the signs, it means you are. And listen, if you felt even one of these signals in your life recently, don't take it lightly. Mark this moment, because it could be the very chapter where everything starts to shift for you. And if you're ready to keep uncovering mysteries like this, stories and insights that mainstream media will never give you, go ahead and subscribe now. Because the next time you recognize these signs, you won't just see them, you'll know exactly what they mean. And if you felt even one of these signals in your life recently, don't take it lightly. Mark this moment, because it could be the very chapter where everything starts to shift for you. And if you're ready to keep uncovering mysteries like this, stories and insights that mainstream media will never give you, go ahead and subscribe now. Because the next time you recognize these signs, you won't just see them, you'll know exactly what they mean. Think about that for a second. Most people experience these signals but dismiss them as coincidences. They chalk up the chaos in their lives to bad luck, the loneliness to people being busy, the recurring dreams to random brain activity. They label the inner restlessness as anxiety or burnout, instead of realizing it's a spiritual alarm clock ringing inside them, urging them to wake up. That's the difference between drifting through life and walking with purpose. If you ignore the signs, you miss the doorway. But if you stop and pay attention, you realize that what felt like random turbulence was actually a carefully orchestrated preparation. Take the feeling of chaos, for example. Most of us instinctively resist it. We want order, stability, predictability. But the truth is, transformation doesn't grow in perfect order. Nothing alive does. Look at a forest after a storm. Fallen trees, broken branches, scattered leaves. It looks like devastation. And yet, in that disruption, light suddenly reaches parts of the soil it never touched before, seeds that were hidden begin to sprout, and new growth takes root. That's exactly how breakthroughs begin. What feels like ruin is often the fertile ground for renewal. If you're experiencing chaos right now, don't just panic. Ask yourself, what new growth might this destruction be making room for? The same goes for isolation. People think being left out or abandoned is proof that they're unworthy. But what if it's the opposite? What if you've simply outgrown the circles you were in? Imagine trying to fit a larger puzzle piece into a smaller space. It just doesn't work anymore. Sometimes God removes people from your life not because they're bad, but because their role in your story is complete. And while you're in the middle of it, it feels like rejection, but later you realize it was elevation. You were being pulled out of a place that couldn't contain the next chapter of your growth. That's why solitude is one of the most misunderstood signs. People hate it, but it's the cocoon where transformation happens. And let's go deeper into discomfort, that gnawing feeling you can't shake. Think of it like spiritual growing pains. When you were a kid, maybe your legs ached at night while your bones stretched. Painful, but it was proof you were getting taller. Discomfort before a blessing works the same way. It irritates you, makes you restless, pushes you to question why you're not content with what you have. That agitation is holy. It's divine dissatisfaction designed to push you into action, because if you were completely comfortable, you'd stay exactly where you are. So the discomfort is not a curse, it's an invitation. It's a divine nudge saying, move, grow, rise. And then there's resistance, the kind that makes you want to throw your hands up and quit. But here's a perspective shift. Resistance proves you're carrying momentum. A plane doesn't feel turbulence when it's parked on the runway. It feels it when it's soaring into the sky. The same is true for your life. The heavier the resistance, the higher you're climbing. So instead of asking, why is everything against me? Start asking, what breakthrough is so close that resistance is trying this hard to block me? Because let's be real, nobody robs an empty house. If you're facing opposition, it's because you're carrying treasure. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine that all of these signals, chaos, isolation, discomfort, resistance, even the sudden peace you sometimes feel in the middle of it all, are not random, but part of a coded language. God doesn't always speak through thunder and lightning. Sometimes He speaks in patterns, in whispers, in disruptions that catch your attention only if you're awake enough to notice. What if your current struggle isn't a wall, but a doorway disguised as one? What if the pain you're feeling isn't the end, but the labor pains before birth? That's why I said, mark this moment. If you felt even one of these signals, it could mean you're standing closer to your breakthrough than you think. And you don't want to miss it because you were too busy complaining, too distracted to notice, or too afraid to step forward. The signs don't appear to tease you, they appear to prepare you. They're proof that the ground beneath your feet is shifting, not to swallow you, but to raise you higher. And that's the beauty of it. Once you see the signs for what they are, you'll never look at your struggles the same way again. The chaos becomes construction, the loneliness becomes incubation, the discomfort becomes direction, the resistance becomes confirmation, and the peace becomes your anchor. That's when you stop panicking and start preparing, because you know something bigger is on its way.